Hi everyone. Today, as part of the Global Women in Security Summit, we would like to talk about the career development part of women in security. I'm not alone here today. I'll be joined by two fabulous other women. And we're going to talk a bit about the road to being a security professional, because over time, the security industry changed. Traditionally, we had law enforcement, police coming in, working then in the private sector. And now we've seen a change. So many people joining the industry at the moment come from an academic background rather than a law enforcement background. Today I'm joined by Beverly and Talya. Beverly is more towards the end of her career in the security industry, while Talya started in the beginning of 2020. So it's a great opportunity to compare a little bit the two starts into the industry, as well as where they're at and how they view the industry. So before we go into it, I would like both of you to introduce yourselves. So maybe Beverly, if you could start and tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you came to work in the security industry.
Hi, I'm Bev Roach, and you can see it from Asian Development Bank in Manila right now. But I started my career some time ago. I did 20 years in the Canadian military as an intelligence officer. And post-military career, I worked a little bit in emergency management. And then I had an opportunity to go on some training as an NGO. And I started working in Darfur, in Sudan, and I worked in Côte d'Ivoire in West Africa. So that was how I started my security career, and it kind of developed from there. Since I started in I would say the high-risk security world, that I've worked in all over Africa, and then also in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and a number of other countries. So I've been very fortunate that my military experience brought me to this, but it was also a combination of other things as well. My education, master's in security management, occupational health and safety, and so I continue to develop as well. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Cool. My name is Talya Parker. I live in and work in Cape Town, South Africa. I took a little bit more of the straight academic route into the industry. I finished undergrad honors and master's degree at Stellenbosch University and finished with a master's in political science. And I kind of stumbled into the security industry. I focused and kind of honed my skills in on doing a lot of risk assessments in terms of country risk, and I got the job with my current company, Sarah Boyd, and that's where I really got exposed to the security industry and learned, about what I do now. And I work as a research analyst, and it's really exciting. And yeah, I'm really grateful and happy that I managed to find my way into this industry.
Well, I'm between both of you, somewhere in the middle between on the career ladder. And I know whilst we have many similarities, there's also different challenges, and depending on where you are at in your career. So from both of you, I would like to find out where you see challenges and opportunities being a female working in the industry, especially seeing that, you have different amounts of years under your belt so far. So maybe this time, Talya, if you could start.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to kind of be in the industry. I think a lot of things are changing, and as a female, I think that's a really exciting time to be here, because I think things are changing for the better. I think a challenge still is that it is quite a male-dominated industry, and especially as a young female, you're trying to find your feet, and it's very challenging, I guess, going up against people that are maybe have not only been there for a lot longer, but also have the physical experience of being in the military or law enforcement. So it's you know, a little bit of a challenge in that manner. But I also see that, and you know, like to see that as an opportunity, and it's a way to prove that it doesn't matter how you got into the industry, that if you've got what it takes, you can make success out of it. And yeah, I think, you know, I only started working this year, so, and I was in the office for 3 months before COVID-19 put us into lockdown in South Africa. So I think there will be still a lot of challenges that I come to face. But it's just, yeah, from, you know, my short couple of months, 11 months of working, it's something that I've come across.
Hi. Challenges. There's lots of challenges that I've experienced, but I guess I was fortunate in that I came into the security field with 20 years in the military behind me, and so that gives you a little bit of credibility, I guess. By the same token, it still is a very male-dominated field, and so that meant that there were often people who, you know, some with more experience and some with less experience, but all of whom, how can I say, you know, they would try to portray themselves as being very good at their job, and some were and some weren't. And so what the challenge was for me was to find the ones who were really good and kind of latch on. Those are the ones I wanted to learn from, because I recognized going into the field that even though I had 20 years of military experience, it did not make me a security officer. That's, you know, there was a lot of work that had to be done around that. I was taking my master's experience and bringing it to the field with me. But again, it was all a learning experience. It depends on the organization you're with. It depends on the location that you're in. So there's a number of nuances that are around that. So it's always been a learning curve. And if anything, that's the biggest challenge, is that we have to ensure that we're continually keeping up with what the trends are and learning from each other, and learning not just from the internationals that we're working with, but there were a lot of locals on the ground, and sometimes their experience was not tapped into. So if I go to a place like Afghanistan, where I've spent 7 years, that the locals that are around me have spent a lot of time in a war zone, and they've got lots I can learn, you know, lots for me to learn about, and lots for me to learn from. And that's really important to me. So it was learning to, as I say, identify who were the ones that I wanted to tap into to get my learning experience the best I could have, and to recognize to you know, shut my ego down. I couldn't go in with an ego. I had to recognize that just because I had 20 years in the military does not make me the best at the job. It's what I'm doing with what I've got. And so I was listening to Talya, and I mean, I certainly understand she's coming in new to this field, and really, I would just recommend continually learning, continually taking on new challenges, continually researching. You see something that you don't understand, dig into it a little bit deeper, learn a little bit more, and that just really brings your own confidence up as well. So that's you know, getting my confidence to a level where I feel very comfortable, and I know what I'm doing in the job. And it doesn't mean that I don't have stuff to learn, but I'm a lot more comfortable when I go out there now. So yeah, and challenges in terms of being a woman. Again, in the beginning, sometimes there were, and sometimes it was just my lack of confidence. But now that I am confident, I mean, the interaction with my male counterparts is a lot easier. But the other issue around that was that I found in some places that I've worked, that being a woman was actually something to my advantage. People would say, oh, you're a female security officer and you're going into Afghanistan, and they would kind of scowl and shake their heads. That's not going to work very well. But in fact, there was curiosity around me. I was kind of this alien creature, because they hadn't seen women in the security field, you know, other than administrative roles in the police or whatever. And so I would often get invited into homes. We can't do that as much now as we could when I first went into Afghanistan back in 2006. But that meant that I could meet family members. I could engage in a different way with some of the authorities that I would meet. And there's a trust that's built when you meet family. And some of my male counterparts weren't able to do that. So in fact, being a woman in that particular instance was actually an advantage. So what we have to do is take, what we are and use it to the best of our ability, to use it to our advantage, to create opportunities for ourselves. And that's worked for me.
Certainly, I think it's interesting to hear that there are some similar challenges, and hearing Bev say it's a lot about confidence also that you learn over time as a female in this industry. There is certainly still instances where you encounter the old boys club and have to prove yourself maybe a little bit more than your male colleagues. What I personally realized over the years as well, though, is that I was very fortunate to always have great male colleagues that were very supportive, that never really made me feel different to them, and that kind of fast-tracked my confidence in the industry. And over time, speaking to other female professionals who maybe didn't have that, or had more stones thrown in their way by their male colleagues, maybe for that it takes a bit longer. So Beverly, I would like to know from you, if there's any specific one advice other than, continuous learning, which is obviously very important, that you would want to give a young female professional today, with your years experience, what you think, maybe is a specific skill set that females in the industry require that males maybe don't have to have, or not expected to have, or a general, mentor advice for a young female professional.
Okay, well, advice for young females coming into the field. What I would say is something that I learned in the military. As I was one of the first female Army intelligence officers, and I worked in a pretty male-dominated environment there too. And I would say to be yourself. Don't try to be something you're not. We don't have to be one of the guys. We don't have to be like the men. We have our own way of doing things. And that once I realized that it was okay to be a woman and do things my way, it actually was far more effective because I was naturally more comfortable with being who I am. I don't want to be somebody I'm not. So I would suggest that that's one of the first really valuable lessons I took away from the military, and I've carried that with me everywhere. And that can mean that, perhaps we're more empathetic in certain situations, or, perhaps how we interact with people is a little bit differently in some situations, but use it to our advantage. So be who you are. That's really important. I'm going to just say continuous learning again. That's critical because that gives us not only confidence, it gives us credibility. So we're building both of those at the same time. As we build our own confidence, we're building credibility as well. So that's really important. Sometimes we have to step outside our comfort zone. There may be things that will be important to us. This is just one example. I had a bunch of close protection people who were working with me in Afghanistan. So I went on the range with them and I did the close protection shooting test. That's not something I had to do as the security manager, but it also built credibility. And it built a relationship that, and it also taught me what they have to do. It gave me a sense of the level that I was expecting from them and the kind of training that they had to do regularly. So sometimes we have to step a little bit outside our comfort zone, and that's okay. So yeah, be yourself, learn, gain confidence, and try out new things once in a while.
So, being that young professional at the beginning of her career and, hearing the advice now from Bev, Talya, but also is there maybe something from your side where I know you have, predominantly had online interaction in the industry due to COVID-19, but is there anything you would wish, the female experts that have been there before you would have done differently to, make your path easier, or that, you would want to see as a female security professional coming together in this industry, and that other female professionals might be able to help and mentor you with to get you in your career where you ultimately want to be?
I think, it has been a challenge this year with a lot of my interactions being online, and it's, limited things a little bit. But I do think building confidence amongst women in general in the industry is, I know it's something that I've personally struggled with, of not feeling lesser than, but, holding back a little bit because I am, new, I'm fresh, I've just started working, and at the end of the day, I am a female. So I do think that is, something that's is nice to foster, is that level of confidence. And I think, what Bev said as advice is be yourself. And I think it's really important to drill that home, that you don't need to pretend to be, one of the boys. You don't need to pretend and act like that. At the end of the day, we're all individual people, and that's what makes us fantastic. And I think, it's just, knowing that no matter what background or how you got into the industry, that you have something to bring to the table, and that you're there for a reason. And I think it's nice, through Women in Security and these kinds of organizations, to kind of foster that that environment.
Going forward, or looking at the years to come, we obviously have seen a change. One lady at GSX a few years back said, it's so great to finally see a queue at the ladies' bathroom and not only the men's bathroom at GSX. We are obviously seeing a change, but it's not a secret that females are still in the minority in the security industry a lot of times. So from where you're sitting, both of you, what do you think needs to happen in the security industry, or what can we do as females already working in the industry to inspire more women joining us and become experts in the security industry, and especially maybe even young women that are still in school can see that as a viable career path. So maybe let's start with Talya and then swing to Bev afterwards.
I think going forward, it's again just kind of fostering these environments for women, like the Women in Security, where it's not only a community, but it's also a little bit of a soundboard, and it offers you an opportunity to make relationships, and strong relationships. And I think that's creating that kind of support system and community is really great. And I think in terms of inspiring other women, especially younger women, to join the industry, is just putting ourselves out there, and showing girls in high school, young women in university, that this is really a viable career option by, I don't know, whether it be giving a talk, or just staying in contact with your old university and saying, like, if there's somebody who is interested, let them email me and let me offer some guidance. And I think that's a really great way to be able to, just let people know, and to also, I don't know, kind of advertise the industry just in general. Like I said, at the start of the year, I knew very little about the industry, and I had not been exposed at all. And I certainly wish I had, because it might have, changed skills that I focused on, or anything like that. It doesn't, as Bev said, continuously learn, and that's what I like to think I'm doing. but I do think, yeah, just a little bit more information about the industry in general. And I think now, as you know, the new generation kind of comes in, I know people my age, things are changing, and change, unfortunately, sometimes is a little bit slow, but I think, you know, the industry will get there, and it will be exciting to see what happens within the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, I think there's lots of opportunities to start really developing the women's element, if you will, in the security industry. Certainly, this group, you know, being a part of a women in security group is really important. And it was amazing to me to see how many people were actually out there, because the industry, like the part of the industry that I was in, there were a few, but not a lot. I was lucky early on to have mentorship of one woman who was already working in the field, and she helped me a great deal in the very beginning. But I think what we have is an opportunity with so many more speaking engagements, especially things like this where we're online. People are getting to speak at different things that we might not have had the opportunity to when we had to travel to them. So those of us who have been around for a while, and people like Talya who are, you know, young and ready to step up and start speaking, get out there and start passing the message. Mentoring is going to be really important. Interacting with other women in security, if we can do it in this women in security group or other groups, that's really important. And I would also say teaching. One of the things that I'm doing right now, I'm just starting to develop some courses for a university in Singapore. And being a female instructor at a university level means that there's a lot of young women who are in those classes, and they're getting exposure to somebody who's been around the industry for a while. And I think that's really, really important as well. So that even though I'm not going to be staying in the field, when I say the field, I mean going to Afghanistan for the rest of my life. You know, I'm going to be still passing the message and helping young women to learn, and also setting an example for them by, you know, showing that somebody has been in this industry for a while and showing them the way. One of the things that I do teach at the end of the course is I include a section about professional development, and that's part of it, learning how to develop ourselves professionally and interacting. So it's all that mentorship and sharing and interacting with other women in the field. And certainly it's up to us to start speaking and teaching.
Well, thank you very much, ladies. I think, you know, for me, it's definitely fascinating to see that, you know, no matter where you are in your career, we're very different stages, very different, three women. And, you know, at the same time, it's, you know, kind of similar, different but similar, what we're facing and what we're seeing. And, you know, in a nutshell, you know, to continuously learn and to, you know, put women out there in the forefront to show and inspire other females, but at the same time, you know, just show that we are security experts and not just women. You know, is certainly great. And I think, you know, especially with this initiative of the Security Alliance, this is exactly what we're doing. So thank you very much for joining me and sharing your insights. And I'm looking forward to, you know, seeing many great things of both of you in the future.
Well, thank you very much for having us here. I'm really grateful to have had this opportunity to share.
Thank you very much as well. Yeah, it's been a really cool experience. Thank you so much for bringing me on.